Hi everyone, it's me again. I'm so sorry, I've not been very good at keeping up with doing reviews. I've been really busy. I was up in Inverness last week doing a tasting up there, and I stopped by Glenmorangie Distillery and Dalmore, so that was really nice. I've also been working really hard on getting my new website launched. So for the Rare Malt Whisky Company, we're getting a new site and it's taken a lot of time to get it together. So I've been really busy doing that, but I've been anxious to do another review for you. When I was up in Inverness doing the tasting, one of the whiskies that we presented is this really lovely Bowmore. So this is a bottle here. It's hand filled, single cask, distillery exclusive, 18 years old and bourbon matured. So I think this is quite unusual to see a Bowmore whiskey completely bourbon matured, so no influence from the sherry at all. And really I think it's quite an unusual sort of combination that you get. So as always, I've poured myself a little dram, just slid in here on the shelf. So I rattled off the details there quite quickly. So you can only buy this bottle at the distillery and you can hand fill it yourself. On the nose, it really is lovely. It's classic Islay smoke, but with hidden sweetness behind it. So for me, there's a definite freshness to it. So I think that comes from those American white oak bourbon casks. You get that fresh fruit sort of flavour. So whereas with a lot of the sherried whiskies you often get dried fruits, for this it's something lighter and fresher, maybe more like mango or melon. But it's quite hard to detect because that smoke is very prominent. I actually really like Bowmore. I think this is my second review of a Bowmore whiskey. And I think I like it because it's middle of the road. Like, I love the Islay style, that coastal feel. But if it's too smoky, I do struggle with some of the lighter flavours. There's a definite sort of bonfire smell to it as well. It's 51%, so it's not too strong as a single cask strength goes, but maybe pop a little water in. So I would say initially there is a little bit of sweetness. However, as the whiskey sort of coats your mouth a little bit, you feel that warmth, that heat. So that'll be the alcohol. Then you get the kind of smoke, and as it dies away, you get that sweetness again. And I'm really getting something quite fruity sweet at the end. I'm just trying to decide what fruit I think it is. Almost like some sort of fruit salad. It's a mixture. And that's what I love about this whiskey. It's so complex. There's so many layers of it. And we got a few comments like that at the tasting in Inverness last week, that people liked it because you really could go through the motions of the whiskey, you know, the heat, the smoke, and then this fruity sweetness. There is a bit of fire to it because of the alcohol strength. I am a fan of putting a wee bit of water in a whiskey, particularly a cask strength, so I'm going to add a couple of drops. Very fittingly, I've got myself a nice little Bowmore jug. You can see it there. Much better than that horrid Jameson one. Joking, obviously. If there's any Jameson fans, don't take offence. I'm only joking. I'm actually going to Dublin a few weeks' time, so I've been to the distillery before, so I probably won't go, but Dublin's an amazing place. Anyway, so I've just added a really small splash of water there just to see if it opens it up any more. I would say on the nose, I'm getting less of the smoke now. Although I sometimes wonder, does your nose just get used to what you've been smelling and it sort of dilutes it a little bit? Obviously the water's diluted it as well. Really is lovely. It's so smooth. I think because it's obviously 18 years old, it's a long time in that cask, and you're really getting the bourbon influence. Sometimes bourbon whiskies, I think the flavours are a wee bit lighter, so you are maybe getting more of the intense smoke with this whiskey because that smoke is still very, very prominent. Behind the smoke, a little bit of vanilla, which I think is quite common coming from the American white oak bourbon casks. Sort of that cigar smoke is what leaves you lingering at the end. Yeah, I would say that most of the flavours are what I would describe as smoke infused. So there is definite sweetness, but it's a really smoky sweet, which is really lovely. And I think that's what Bowmore does really, really well, is they give you that coastal island feel that a lot of people want when you want an Islay whiskey. That's what you want to taste. However, it's not too all-consuming, and I think even sort of beginner sort of whiskey drinkers could enjoy this malt. So that is the review of this 18-year-old hand-filled distillery exclusive Bowmore. So just to give you a wee update of what's happening with me over the next month or so. So I said I'm getting a new website, and I'm also heading over to Islay for the Feis Festival, the Islay Whisky Festival, which is quite famous in the whisky world. So I'm hosting some tastings. If anyone happens to be going over and you want to hear more about my event, send me a wee email. My address is Lesley, Lesley, at theraremaltwhiskeycompany.com. So Lesley at theraremaltwhiskeycompany.com. But I hope to do another review before then. So good evening and stan